welcome you. So you've brought us some really thought-provoking stuff today.
Yeah, it's fascinating material.
It really dives into that link between mindset and, well, financial success. Specifically, this whole idea of a $120 million mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely makes you wonder if hitting those huge financial goals is, more than just pure grind and strategy.
Right. There seems to be another layer.
So our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack these ideas. Mindset, frequency.
Mm-hmm.
What does it all actually mean for reaching financial goals?
Exactly, because the sources really emphasize it's not just about working harder.
And they pose that key question, don't they? What's the difference between average earners and, like, the financial giants?
Yeah, and the hint is it's more about belief than just pure effort. It's quite a claim.
Okay, so let's get into that core concept then, the power of mindset.
Right.
The sources you shared really hammer home this point.
Right.
We attract what we believe we deserve, not just what we want. That feels significant.
It really is a fundamental distinction. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? Well, instead of just looking at doing things differently, it pulls our internal state right to the front. Our thoughts, our feelings, day in, day out.
Okay.
The sources talk about this concept of alignment.
Alignment.
Yeah, alignment between your thoughts, your emotions, and this underlying frequency they mentioned.
Frequency. Okay.
The idea is people who achieve massive success often kind of embody that success internally first, how they think, feel, even carry themselves.
Before the money actually shows up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As one source puts it, they move, speak, and feel like success beforehand.
And getting there, it sounds like a big part is dealing with what they call limiting stories.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The stuff we tell ourselves, I never get a break, or that kind of success isn't for people like me.
Precisely. And the sources argue these aren't just, passing thoughts. They see them as actual blocks.
Blocks to abundance?
Yeah. Real roadblocks. If deep down you believe you're not worthy or the game is rigged against you, well, that belief system actively works against whatever you're trying to do externally.
It's like trying to drive with the handbrake on.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Now, this frequency idea, that's where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit more abstract.
It can feel that way. They connect it to the law of attraction.
Okay.
The basic premise is everything's energy. Our beliefs, our emotions, they vibrate at a certain frequency.
And money has a frequency too.
That's the idea presented. So the key becomes aligning your inner state, your frequency, with that of someone already earning, say, $120 million.
But crucially, it's not about just acting rich, right?
No, definitely not. The sources are clear on this. It isn't about superficially faking it.
So what is it then?
It's about genuinely feeling it first, becoming what they call a vibrational match to what you want.
A vibrational match. Okay. Now, is this frequency like a literal scientific thing or more of a metaphor for your state of mind?
That's a good clarification. It's definitely used more metaphorically here. Think of it as your dominant emotional and mental home base.
Okay. Your default setting.
Exactly. Someone with a high financial frequency consistently feels capable, worthy, expectant of success. It's their default setting, like you said.
And that influences their actions.
Subtly, but powerfully, yes. Decisions, perceptions, what they notice. And it's not just about money. The sources mention this applies to health, relationships, too. Your overall energy matters.
Right. It makes you rethink the usual focus. We spend so much time on the how to get the job, how to start the business, the strategies. But these sources seem to say that this inner frequency, this mindset, is actually more fundamental.
That's the core argument. They use that analogy of a radio, remember?
Yeah, only picking up the station it's tuned to.
Exactly. If your internal tuning is set for a certain level of financial reality, you'll naturally gravitate towards things that keep you there, even if bigger opportunities appear.
Which can lead to self-sabotage.
That's what the sources describe. Yeah.
Right. Like someone gets a sudden windfall, maybe an inheritance or a bonus.
Yeah.
There's the initial excitement, but then, as the source mentioned, sometimes fear or doubt creeps in.
Because it's outside their comfort zone.
Exactly. It disrupts that internal setting. And there's this unconscious pullback to what feels normal financially, like that internal thermostat analogy.
Perfect analogy. And that real-world example they mentioned, Anupam Mittal from Shark Tank India.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, his early goal was $10 million, which back then must have seemed enormous.
Yeah.
But the story suggests he aligned his internal frequency, his belief, with that level of success early on.
So even when things went wrong financially.
Exactly. Even with setbacks, that underlying belief, that internal alignment apparently helped him bounce back and eventually achieve huge success.
That really illustrates the point, doesn't it? That early belief setting the stage.
It's a compelling case study for this principle.
And this connects to those mental blocks or ceilings the sources talk about. We all know people, or maybe we've experienced it ourselves, working incredibly hard, putting in crazy hours.
But the income doesn't really budge proportionally. Or it goes up, then slips back down.
Yeah. And the source doesn't just put that down to bad luck or the economy. They call it a frequency block.
Right. And what's really interesting is the proposed first step to breaking through.
Which isn't work harder.
No, it's not about more external action initially. It's about inner work.
Inner work. Like what?
Identifying those limiting beliefs we talked about. Actively shifting your sense of self-worth. Getting comfortable, feeling wealthy, feeling successful, even before your bank account reflects it.
It makes you think about the beliefs we all carry, doesn't it? Often without even realizing.
Absolutely. For you listening, what might some of those unconscious stories be for you? What narrative might be playing out financially?
And this interstate idea helps explain why sudden money sometimes doesn't stick for people.
Exactly. The source points out that the internal comfort zone around money hasn't actually shifted.
They use that term, internal EEG, like monitoring your inner signals.
Yeah, sort of like the underlying emotional response. When your income spikes beyond what feels normal or deserved internally, it triggers discomfort, dissonance. Those signals kick in.
So the solution isn't just pretending, putting on a brave face.
No, according to these sources, pretending doesn't cut it long term. It's about genuinely recalibrating that internal thermostat, changing the core belief about what you deserve and what's truly possible for you.
Okay, but how do you do that? It sounds big.
Well, the sources suggest starting small. Practical steps.
Like?
Things like visualization exercises, but not just daydreaming.
Right. What makes visualization effective then, according to this? Are there common mistakes?
Great question. Effective visualization isn't just seeing the number. It's immersing yourself in the feeling and the sensory details of already having achieved it.
So feeling the relief, the joy, the security.
Exactly. What does your day feel like with that income? What are you doing? Who are you with? Evoke the emotions. A common mistake is just focusing on the outcome, the what, without the how it feels.
So really practice feeling comfortable with more.
Yes. Practicing the belief until it starts to feel less like a fantasy and more like your natural state, your new normal.
So it all comes back to that core idea, doesn't it? Success, especially big financial success, flows more easily to those who genuinely believe, deep down, that they deserve it.
That's the bottom line in these sources. Cultivating that internal worthiness is the foundation.
And then the strategies and actions become truly effective.
That's the argument. Without that inner alignment, the best plans can still get tripped up by those hidden limiting beliefs.
Okay, so for you, listening, the big takeaway from diving into these sources seems pretty clear. If you want to attract a certain level of financial success, whether it's that $120 million life or whatever your big goal is, the crucial first move, according to this perspective, is internal.
It's about actively cultivating the mindset, the beliefs, the feelings of someone already living that reality.
Which leaves us with a really interesting thought to chew on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For you listening. What one small shift in belief about yourself, about your worthiness, what tiny internal adjustment could you make, maybe even starting today?
Just to begin aligning, creating that vibrational match they talk about, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable or unconventional right now.
What's one small internal step?
It's definitely an ongoing journey, this inner exploration, but it sounds like that's where the real work starts.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for digging into this with us. Really fascinating stuff.